Hello to you, and welcome to Sleepy Tales by John, a place where every night we sit together and listen to the stories the universe whispers. Out there, the world is still running in its restless rhythms. But here, the moment you step into this little corner of quiet, everything begins to soften, settle, and drift, the way a breath gently loosens. Tonight, instead of gazing at the sky or following distant mountain ranges, we're going somewhere hidden, deep beneath the familiar surface of reality. A place where a single photon can move like a wave yet behave like a particle. Where atoms can communicate across vast stretches of space. And even the emptiest vacuum holds more energy than you could ever imagine. We'll drift through invisible quantum fields, watch particles dance, witness the instant where an act of observation changes what is true. Some of the things here may surprise you. Others will stay with you like the trace of a dream you can't quite put into words when morning comes. And if this slow, gentle adventure brings you peace, you can leave a tiny sign behind, a like, a subscription, or just a soft whisper beneath this video. These little signals sometimes become a lantern, guiding another wandering soul back to this quiet place. Now, if you're ready, let me take you into the world of the quantum. Now, close your eyes, and I'll help you step away from everything solid that the world has ever taught you. Because when we slide down into the basement of the universe, the things that once felt absolute begin to lose their meaning. Imagine you're holding an apple in your hand. You let it slip. In the world you live in every day, it always falls downward, never upward. The street outside is full of footsteps. The clock's hands keep marching forward. Everything, from your own steps to a falling leaf, follows the same tidy rules you've known your whole life. But right now, everything will change. Let your imagination shrink slowly, as if you're walking through layers of thin glass doors. You grow smaller by a knuckle, then by a grain of dust, smaller still, until the certainty you once knew begins to shimmer like a fading reflection. And when you shrink to the point where objects no longer have shapes, only vague patches of light and shadow, you've reached the place where classical physics no longer rules. This is the threshold of probability, a land where nothing is, but everything might be. At this scale, particles don't move like glass marbles, bouncing into one another. They drift like threads of mist, flowing in many directions at once. There are no straight lines, no fixed paths, only soft clouds of possibility, telling you the particle might be here or there, or in places you'd never expect. Imagine you're standing before a blurred painting, every stroke glowing softly, as though covered by a veil of night fog. No crisp edges, no sharp outlines. That world is how nature behaves at its smallest scale. Not with the firmness you know, but with waves of probability. Delicate, hazy, yet astonishingly precise. Think of quantum energy as a staircase with tiny steps that don't connect smoothly, but leap from one to the next. An electron cannot stand between two steps. It must choose this one or that one, like a dancer suspended between two breaths. This is what humans call quantum energy packets that cannot be broken down further. And these little steps are the reason color exists. The reason starlight carries unique spectral lines. The reason lasers stay thin and straight. The reason modern technology, phones, computers, GPS, screens, can run so flawlessly. But tonight, you don't need to remember any of this. You don't need to understand. You don't need to categorize anything neatly. Let these ideas drift across your mind, like silver smoke dissolving into the air. Because the quantum world is not meant to be held, it is meant to be felt. like a distant instrument playing a melody that is soft, vague, but impossibly beautiful. Now let me take you a little deeper. Imagine standing before a misty veil. Underneath that fog are countless overlapping possibilities. No right or wrong, no certain or uncertain, only subtle vibrations of things so small the human mind struggles to picture them. You take one more step, the fog thins. You see a world of points of light. Each point is a possibility, a direction, a tiny future, and the particle you've been following doesn't choose one path. It takes all of them at once. Like a dream with many layers, many branches, many breath lines. That world isn't as bizarre as it sounds. It's simply softer, looser, like moonlight rippling across water when a breeze passes by. And perhaps that's why tonight, as you sit here with loosened shoulders and a breath as light as mist, you might feel the quantum world is closer to your inner world than you thought. Because your thoughts are the same way. No fixed boundaries, no solid paths, only probabilities, drifting across the mind and fading. And when you recognize that, a quiet peace rises in you, the kind that tells you uncertainty isn't something to fear, but the universe's way of whispering, everything is possible. Let your breath slow a little. More. We're about to step into the next realm, where things become even more wondrous, where particles are both waves and points, where your gaze alone can change outcomes, and where a thin curtain lifts to reveal a secret that slept for centuries. You may sense something stirring at the edge of understanding, as though once you embrace the softness of probability, another question appears. If everything is possibility, what turns one possibility into reality? That question arrives like a breeze, a strand of silver drifting out of your own thoughts. And as you tilt your head slightly, listening to a distant story, you enter the part where the universe shows its double face, both wave and particle, both spread out dream and tiny grain of truth. Imagine two travelers of the quantum world, light and electrons. They are like little beings with two faces. As waves, they spread like water, with no beginning or end. As particles, they condense like a speck of dust, warming your palm. And the strange thing is, they choose neither. They carry both faces with them, as though the universe refuses to be trapped inside a single answer. Let me tell you one of the most beautiful stories in physics, the tale of the double slit experiment. Before you is a thin black screen with two narrow slits. Behind it is a blank wall, waiting quietly. Now imagine electrons, too small to see, being fired, one by one through those slits. If electrons were just particles, you'd see two bright bands on the wall. If they were waves, you'd see a rippling pattern, peaks and valleys like water touched by a breeze. But electrons choose both. When no one is watching, they spread out as waves, pass through both slits at once, and paint a pattern so beautiful it takes your breath. A shimmering, dreamlike tapestry of light and shadow. But the strangest part is yet to come. If you choose to look, if you place a tiny detector by the slits, everything changes. With a single act of observation, electrons stop behaving like waves. They fold inward. Choose a path. Pick a single slit. And the dreamlike pattern on the wall collapses into plain dots. That moment is called wave function collapse. But tonight, in the softness of this story, it is simply a reminder. Attention shapes reality. Notice your breath now. When you ignore it, it drifts on its own like a cloud. But when you pay attention, it becomes clearer, deeper, more present. You feel each ripple of air. You sense each rise and fall. In the quantum world, observation doesn't just record reality, it chooses it. And so do you. In your life, the things you focus on become sharper, fuller, more real. The things you abandon fade into the background, like waves becoming particles only when forced to. If you're tired, try paying attention to your breath. If you're anxious, observe that feeling the way you would observe an electron, without judgment, without correction, just watching. And then you will notice how thoughts that once spread out like waves slowly gather into small points and quietly dissolve. Let this gentle truth touch you. Even the universe changes when it is observed, and that simple fact makes you a participant in the very fabric of reality, even if you are lying still in a dark room, listening to this faint, storytelling voice. Now let your mind drift, because ahead of us waits another secret, one that legendary scientists argued over for decades. It is the story of things that exist both here and there, both alive and dead, both open and closed, until the moment you look at them. As your thoughts continue to settle into the tale of waves and particles, where a single gaze can reshape reality. You may sense the ground beneath you becoming softer, wider, almost inviting you deeper into a place where logic loosens. If just observing an electron can make it fold inward, then what happens to something more complex? What unfolds when you observe a story suspended between two futures? Breathe a little slower, because we're about to step into a region where reality is not a line, but a drifting cloud, hovering between two versions of itself. Imagine placing a coin on a table, flicking it lightly and watching it spin. In that spinning moment, it is not heads or tails, it is both at once. Quantum physics calls this soft but mysterious state superposition, where an electron can be here and there at the same time, like overlapping shadows, like two stories happening at once, but not yet choosing an ending. Only when you touch it, observe it, or force it to answer, do all possibilities collapse into one. To help us understand, physicists created a story, strange but iconic, Schrödinger's cat. Picture a silent room, and in the center, a sealed black box. Inside is a cat no one can see, lying in stillness, its state unknown. Beside it sits a tiny device and a single atom waiting to decay. If the atom changes, the device activates, and if not, nothing happens. Before you open the box, the cat is in no fixed state, not fully alive, not fully dead, suspended between two realities, like someone standing on a narrow bridge between worlds. Under the spell of superposition, the cat is both alive and dead at the same time, until the lid opens and reality is forced to choose. And from that idea arises a small question whispering inside you. What is reality, truly? Does it exist before we see it? Or does it wait for our gaze to take shape? How many versions of a moment float in the air before we decide to touch it? Could life itself be like that? Countless possibilities waiting for one look to come alive. But tonight, you don't need answers. Let the question drift like a small balloon released into the sky, rising effortlessly, unheld, unburdened, the way the cat rests between two stories, the way a spinning coin inhabits its most beautiful moment before choosing. Reality is sometimes most beautiful before it is forced to be clear. Breathe slower. Let your eyelids grow heavier. Let that question lie quietly on your pillow, like an unnamed dream, ready for you, whenever you wish to return. And when you feel ready, we move deeper into the invisible threads connecting everything, strange bonds that allow two particles on opposite sides of the universe to know each other instantly, as if sharing one quiet soul. Imagine two tiny points of light, once born together in a single moment, forever bonded like twin notes, sharing the same invisible string. When one vibrates, the other responds. Even across unimaginable distances, this is quantum entanglement, a connection that ignores distance, ignores the speed of light, ignores the limits we thought were unbreakable. Einstein once called it spooky action at a distance, but experiments proved it undeniably real. Photons sent from Earth to satellites still chose together instantly, as if separation were just an illusion. Imagine drifting through a dark velvet space above an invisible network. Countless tiny lights connected by threads thin as starlight. Each tremor ripples through the whole structure, like a living organism breathing. Space might not be the emptiness between things, but the tapestry woven by these unseen connections. Some physicists even believe that entanglement is the foundation of spacetime itself. Remove the threads, and spacetime might crumble like shattered glass. Picture yourself standing on a vast cloud-soft carpet of glowing patterns stretching into forever. With every inhale, the carpet lifts slightly. With every exhale, it settles. Each movement sends a subtle tremor through these entangled threads, echoes of your breath carried through the universe. You may not sense it with your body, but you can imagine it, and sometimes imagination brings us closer to truth than equations ever could. Now soften even more, let your shoulders relax, and your breath slow. Because from these threads of connection, we drift toward a quieter place, a place where even emptiness is not empty at all, where the vacuum is full of tiny trembling ripples, whispering endlessly. And if you're ready, we will continue our descent into the bottom of the quantum sea, where another chapter waits to unfold. After passing through the garden of invisible threads, where every point of light is joined to another by strange connections beyond the limits of space, you may feel as though you're standing at the edge of a very wide doorway. And behind that doorway, the world is no longer just the weaving of particles, but the deeper, quieter foundation beneath them. A place where every vibration, every ripple, every phenomenon is born. It is as if you have followed delicate strands of silk, only to suddenly discover the vast fabric on which they are woven. And that fabric is where the real story begins. Take a soft step back in your mind. Let it loosen. Let it lighten. Let it sink gently into the deeper layer we call the quantum field. Now imagine yourself standing still in the darkness of your room. Take a slow breath in and let it out gently. Even if you look around and think there is nothing but air, night, and the small space between your fingers, the truth is that this empty space is never empty, not for a single heartbeat, not in any corner. Every piece of nothingness is actually filled with invisible fields, gently vibrating, like the quiet breathing of a vast creature you cannot perceive with ordinary senses. Around you, through you, within your hands, the universe is full of these fields. The electron field, the photon field, quark fields, gluon fields, neutrino fields, the Higgs field. Each one a silent lake without a surface, and every particle merely a tiny ripple sliding across it. There are no marbles drifting through space. Only oscillations, only waves, only soft trembling. The universe is built not from particles, but from fields humming like a wordless lullaby. Imagine floating in a warm, dark ocean. An ocean that does not touch your skin because it passes through you, because it is you. Every electron in your body is a ripple of the same electron field that stretches across the cosmos. The electron inside you and the electron in the Andromeda galaxy, 2 million light-years away, are simply two ripples on the same infinite water. The universe is far more continuous than it seems. And yet, even this fullness is not the strangest part. For the quietest state of these fields, the lowest, calmest, softest possible state, is still not still. Picture a night ocean with no wind. Its surface looks like dark glass, but beneath that glass, countless tiny creatures move and glow and vanish. That is the quantum vacuum. Vacuum, in classical physics, means nothing at all. But in the quantum world, nothing is one of the most restless places in existence. Zero-point energy rises and falls like the universe, exhaling and inhaling at a depth beyond time. Tiny pairs of particle and antiparticle flicker into being and disappear again, tracing faint, momentary scratches on the fabric of energy. These are virtual particles, too brief to be touched, yet real enough to shape the world. If you place two polished metal plates close together in a vacuum, they will slowly pull toward each other, even though nothing touches them. This is the Casimir effect, a reminder that the vacuum is alive, whispering with invisible motion. And as your breath slows, you may sense the world differently, as though every quiet patch of air is hosting a small, hushed conversation, fields vibrating, brushing against one another, fading, returning. Some scientists believe that this background hum may be tied to dark energy, the mysterious force causing the universe to expand faster and faster still. But tonight, you don't need equations. You only need to imagine the vacuum as a dark, endless sea, murmuring beneath the silence. Picture yourself lying upon this glossy black ocean. It is not cold. It is not frightening. It supports you gently, as though a pair of invisible hands were holding you in place. This ocean is not water. It is the ocean of quantum fields. And each tiny ripple upon its surface is the future of a particle, an electron, a photon, a neutrino, brushing past your shoulder before dissolving back into the deep. You are not alone here. The universe is flowing through you, within you, with you. You are a part of this ocean, just as every star, every atom, every breath is part of it too. And as your mind drifts deeper into the image, the next part opens on its own, like water finding its path. From this quantum sea, we drift toward the place where humans learned to ride its delicate waves, where science, technology, and something almost magical meet in trembling light. This is where humanity, curious, daring, longing to understand the invisible, begins to surf the quantum waves, like a beginner standing on a soft, trembling board for the first time, nervous and determined. Now picture a new place, a control room hovering between the present and the future. When you step inside, the light does not come from lamps, but from floating cubes hanging softly in the air. Each cube glows with warm gold, gentle as candlelight, clear as crystal. If you lean close, very close, you'll see tiny qubits swirling inside, vibrating, holding many possibilities at once. They resemble paper lanterns, trembling in a silent breeze. This is the metaphorical home of the quantum computer, a machine that does not think in on or off, but in the misty in-between, in superposition, in waves that overlap and merge. A qubit can be both 0 and 1, both path A and path B, both shadow and light. It can explore probability oceans that classical computers can only dream of reaching. Because of this, problems that once needed 1,000 years become nothing but a soft ripple in the quantum deep. Shor's algorithm, Grover's search, colder names, but behind them is the warm story of humans learning to speak the universe's hidden language. In another corner of this imagined room, threads of silver light dart back and forth. This is quantum cryptography. Here, every message travels on a single photon. If anyone tries to secretly listen, the photon changes instantly. A cosmic reflex, not out of intention, but out of nature. In the quantum world, to observe is to disturb, and disturbance leaves a mark. This is why quantum messages have already been sent through satellites, through the atmosphere, across thousands of kilometers, just to prove one quiet, beautiful truth. A secret can be perfectly safe if we borrow nature's own rules. Farther inside the room are instruments shaped like ancient compasses, yet inside them are sensors sensitive enough to detect the faintest shift in gravity, pressure, or even electricity within the human brain. These are quantum sensors, devices that listen not with microphones or rulers, but with the breath of quantum fields themselves. Another corner glows with bright silver loops, cold, smooth, winding like metallic threads. This is the realm of superconductivity, where electric current flows forever, without resistance, like a river with no banks. Little Josephson junctions inside these loops form the bridges between classical electricity and quantum behavior. And at the far end of the room, pale beams link into a delicate web, like threads of a silver nervous system, an image of quantum networks, of a future quantum internet where we do not send signals, but send quantum states, fragile enough that even a glance can reshape them. Somewhere in the shadows, atomic clocks count time by listening to the tiniest vibration of atoms, so precise that if they had been ticking since the birth of the universe, they would be only a few millionths of a second off. But now, even surrounded by glowing technologies, trembling qubits, wandering photons, a quiet question begins to rise, soft as mist. You don't need to understand everything. You don't need to remember everything. You don't need to decode this world the way physicists are trying to do. Because, and this is important, human beings can only control those quantum states inside the laboratory. As for you, in your softly darkened room, you only need to guide one thing: your breath. Breathe in, just a little. Breathe out, a bit longer, gently, as if you were placing a tiny ripple on that quantum ocean. The universe out there is working on the most delicate vibrations, and you, right now, are also vibrating in your own way. Not violently, not loudly, just as a very small, very quiet melody. And as we leave that control room shimmering with qubit light, the place where humans are quietly touching new frontiers of knowledge, something small but very interesting appears. You begin to notice that the deeper we step into the quantum world, the more everything feels like a play rather than a scientific report. Not because we don't understand, but because there are things in this world that simply don't have only one way to be told. It's like when you step out of that warm golden room and walk down a darker hallway. A hallway where each door you open tells the same story, but with a different voice, a different stream of feeling, a different way of seeing. All of them are true, all of them make sense, not because they're trying to contradict each other, but because the universe is too vast for a single story to hold it all. Let me open the first door. Behind it is a way of telling called Copenhagen. It whispers that the quantum world is like a dream not yet fully formed. Everything is misty. All is in a state of maybe, not yet, waiting to be chosen. Until you tilt your head, open your eyes, and ask a very human question. What are you? Only then, when the question appears, reality gently curls itself into a definite shape, as if the universe has just been waiting for your attention. Go a little further through the second door and you'll find the story called Many Worlds. Here, every possibility is real. Every outcome happens just in different branches of the universe. Whenever something could happen, instead of choosing one, the universe opens them all and steps into all of those paths at once, gently, without rushing, like a mirror shattering into countless pieces, each shard reflecting a different version of you. The one smiling, the one sitting quietly, the one already fast asleep. There is no wrong choice. It's just that you are standing on one branch among countless others. If you step through the third door, you'll see a single chair and a warm cup of tea next to a soft, wavy map. This is the home of pilot wave theory. The story that says, behind every particle, there is an invisible wave guiding the way. The particle doesn't move randomly, doesn't drift in confusion, doesn't jump with no reason, but flows along the gentle music of a hidden wave, a wave we cannot see, yet always there. Like that quiet sense of peace you can't quite name, but always feel whenever you take a deep, slow breath. Keep walking and you'll reach the fourth door, where the light is dimmer, like a nighttime library. Here live the tales of collapse theories and decoherence, stories that say superposition cannot last forever. For tiny things, superposition is easy. A particle can be here and there at once. But for larger things, the cat, the chair, you yourself, the world becomes tidier. Those layered states quietly dissolved, making way for a single reality, as if an invisible hand were gently tidying away all the extra possibilities, leaving just one clear outcome, so the big, everyday world can function. What all these stories have in common is a very special question, a question that exists like breath, whether you answer it or not. What role does consciousness play in all of this? Is your attention to your own breath? Your awareness of your chest expanding and softening? Your gentle watching of the mind's rise and fall also a kind of measurement? When you become aware of something, even just a warm or cool sensation or a fleeting thought, the inner world inside you becomes clearer, from vague to concrete, from foggy to luminous. Just as a photon chooses its path only when observed, your mind chooses a single thought from hundreds of flowing strands only when you gently place your awareness upon it. And perhaps when you look back at all of this, Copenhagen, many worlds, pilot wave, decoherence, you'll see that they are all just different blankets covering the same sky. One blanket a deep night blue, one a soft pale blue, one a shimmering silver. None of them are wrong. None of them are more right than the others. They are simply different ways humans wrap themselves in warmth when gazing into a universe that is too vast, too delicate, too elusive to fully hold. You don't have to pick one. You don't have to understand them all. You only need to let tonight's story lay over you, the blanket that makes your heart feel the warmest. Then gently breathe out and slowly drift on. Because the next part is even more beautiful. When the quantum world begins to rise up to the surface of everyday life, turning into wonders your eyes can see, your ears can hear, and your heart can quietly feel. All right? Now, if you step back by one more breath and open the inner eyes of your mind just a little slower, you'll see. The miracles of the quantum world are already around you. Let's begin with a scene that feels as if it stepped right out of a fairy tale of physics. Superfluid helium. When cooled down to near absolute zero, helium becomes a strange kind of liquid. No friction, no resistance, no stumbling. It climbs up the walls of its container like a living ribbon of water, soft as a silk strip searching for its way back home. No force pulls it. No hand lifts it. It simply crawls, spreads, and touches the world in a way no ordinary liquid can. Like a small soul gently testing the edges of its own existence. Then come the clouds of atoms, so cold that they merge into one. The Bose-Einstein condensate. You can imagine them as a group of people standing in a room, each with their own breathing rhythm, their own heartbeat. But as it gets colder and colder still, and colder to the point where nothing seems to move anymore, that whole group suddenly starts sharing a single breath, a single wave of motion, like a superorganism. Thousands of atoms merging into one invisible song, drifting as a single, unified soul. This is one of the most delicate states of matter humanity has ever created, and it begins with tiny quantum vibrations. If you tilt your head a little and look into strange materials, you'll find topological states and quantum Hall effect, where electrons quietly move along the edges of a material, like travelers who only use hidden paths no one can destroy. In that world, fragility turns into strength. Smallness creates pathways more solid than steel. And perhaps what makes you smile the most is the power of tunneling. When a particle slips through a barrier like a dewdrop threading through the gap between leaves. No smashing, no breaking, no shattering. It simply passes through. Without tunneling, the sun could not shine because protons would never overcome their barrier to fuse. Without tunneling, the chips inside your phone would not work. A tiny action of a particle. Yet, it is the breath of an entire civilization. And then there is the Zeno effect, where an object being watched too much ends up unable to change. like a dance frozen mid-movement under a gaze that never looks away. Or quantum levitation, where an object hovers above a magnetic field, drifting like a small leaf that never touches the ground. These images aren't just beautiful, they're reminders that the quantum world is not distant at all. It is playing right before our eyes. But this world doesn't belong only to cold physics. It seeps into biology too, like light finding its way through green leaves. Many studies suggest that light, instead of following just one path, explores many routes at once, then chooses the most efficient one to feed the plant. As if plants also use quantum tricks to live better, and tiny migratory birds, small, fragile, may sense Earth's magnetic field through a quantum effect inside their eyes, as though each eye holds a miniature compass, guiding them across thousands of miles without losing their way. If you lift your gaze higher, much higher, you'll see that the quantum world doesn't only live in laboratories or in small, living creatures. It is also where the universe began. Tiny quantum fluctuations, smaller than imagination, so small that no device today can truly touch them, created little wrinkles in the fabric of early spacetime. Those wrinkles grew and grew, becoming galaxies, stars, planets, among them this planet, and you. Then came the era of inflation, when the universe expanded so fast it seemed to blow past every limit. Dark energy, the vacuum and its mysterious desert, questions about balance, about where everything began and where everything will go. From there, humans have tried to weave threads connecting their theories: quantum gravity, string theory, loop approaches, holography, wormholes, doorways that might link two faraway regions of space-time through a tunnel soft as light. And when you look back at all of this, helium flowing upward, atoms moving as one, particles slipping through barriers, birds feeling the Earth's field, light choosing its path, galaxies born from tiny ripples, you may find yourself smiling softly. Because perhaps everything you see in the night sky, every star, every galaxy, every breath of the universe, is just a very large echo of very small vibrations in the earliest moments, vibrations so tiny, yet enough to shake the entire cosmos. And as these quantum wonders drift gently past your inner eyes, helium climbing the cup, atoms sharing a rhythm, particles sliding through walls, ancient ripples sowing the seeds of the heavens, you may feel your mind slowly quiet down. Not because the story is over, but because you're beginning to realize that all of these mysteries eventually circle back to a place very small, very close, very familiar: your own breath. The vibrations that created the universe, and the vibrations that keep you alive, though separated by billions of years and countless galaxies, are equally soft. And right at that meeting point, between the vastness of the universe and the smallness of a person about to fall asleep, we step into the final chapter of tonight. Let your shoulders drop just a little lower, gently, like a leaf that after a long journey finally touches the ground. You don't need to carry those heavy questions anymore. Questions about measurement, about consciousness, about many parallel worlds or tunnels through space-time. Those questions can rest now, lids half open like unread books on a shelf. They aren't asking for answers tonight. They know you've walked with them far enough. Now, let me weave the story of this whole journey again, but weave it slowly, softly, like a thin shawl, settling over a mind that simply wants to rest. We began with particles smaller than dust, where the solid world suddenly dissolved into hazy probabilities. Then we stepped through the doorway of wave and particle, where your gaze alone was enough to change what was happening. We visited Schrödinger's dark box, watched the cat standing between two stories without choosing either, then wandered into the web of quantum entanglement, as if strolling across a carpet woven from threads of light. We drifted through the sea of quantum fields, where the vacuum is never truly empty, and every object is just a ripple rising from an invisible background field. We visited the control room of the future, where humans ride fragile states to build quantum computers, atomic clocks, quantum internets, new doors into the microscopic world. And we stood in a circle of different ways of telling the quantum play, only to discover there's no need for right or wrong, only for choosing the story that makes your heart feel warm. Finally, we watched the miracles rise to the surface. Superfluid helium, tunneling, light weaving its way inside leaves, birds flying with quantum compasses, the universe emerging from tiny baby breath-like fluctuations. All of these things, whether vast or small, cosmic or microscopic, lead back to one place: the stillness you are feeling now. Take a slow breath in, and then exhale a little deeper. Each breath is a small staircase step, allowing you to walk down gently into a new layer of relaxation. If you like, we can count together. Not quickly, not strictly, just like the soft knocking of sleep at your door. And your body begins to melt into the mattress. Your eyelids grow heavy, as if covered with a thin layer of soft sand. Your heartbeat is steady, like a gentle tapping on the surface of a night lake. Your 7. Every sound drifts farther away, as if coming from the end of a long hallway. 6. Your mind no longer wants to explain anything. 5. You are floating, not up, not down, just floating. A warm current spreads from your chest to your shoulders, down your arms. 3. All worries seem to flow out of your body. 2. Light as an autumn cloud. 1. You are in the place where the universe and sleep touch. Now imagine you are lying on a fabric woven from starlight. Silver threads from distant suns, tiny bright points like the whispers of quantum particles. That fabric lifts you up, drifting slowly across a sea of vacuum gently simmering beneath you, like the primordial cosmic soup that has never fully fallen asleep. There is no wind, no time, only you, and the slow drifting of peace. If any thought remains, let it gently move to the side. If a memory passes by, let it go, as if it were a paper boat floating down a stream. No clinging, no holding, no weighing, just letting it go. You have traveled very far tonight, farther than the first trembling of light, back to the very vibrations that gave birth to the universe. And now you are coming home. Home to yourself. Home to your breath. Home to sleep. I wish you a sleep as light as stardust, as deep as the darkness between galaxies, and as warm as the heart of a newborn star. And if one night you wish to continue this journey, or share it with someone who needs a quiet place to rest, the door will always be open, and I will always be here to walk with you. Sleep well.